Good evening, everyone. This is the Monday, August 18th meeting of Lewis Parks and Rec Commission, calling the meeting to order at 5 p.m. I wanted to let you know that our council liaison, Tim Ritzert, is attending on Zoom. Ray Fratella hopes to be here. He is in Philadelphia and trying to get here, but he may be able to make it in person. Christine Beshy will be attending remotely. Any announcements for tonight? I had a couple, if that's all right. We received a message from Janet Reeves that we all need to be tracking our volunteer hours. I usually do mine the first of the month, so I remember. I have a couple of clubs that I belong to that collect volunteer hours as well. And this helps for grant writing, and it also just helps the city see how much work goes into what we do. If you have any questions about that, let me know.
I do. Should I
Do you
let
have-
you know now or after?
Oh, sure. What, there's a question?
No, I've tried to get a username and a password. And I wrote to, Janet sent me the track
Back it forward.
it forward. I tried to log in, but I don't have a username or a password. So
Okay.
I wrote to them and they said that the manager had to give me a username and password.
Okay, so I'll follow up with that.
Thank you
We'll
very
get
much.
you set up.
Thank you.
No problem. The other item that we received just toward the end of the day today was an initial outreach from the Ordinance Review Ad Hoc Committee, which I understand will be meeting on the 25th at 11 a.m. at Council Chambers. This is a group that is going to tackle the code book for the city. And this is going to be quite some project to go through that, get it in alignment, refresh, renew. So please be thinking about these items. I know in discussions in this last year, sometimes commission members here have said, you know, things happen in a certain way and perhaps that's not the best. So this is, I think, is the opportunity to ask for review of procedures and code. And Dennis Reardon, I believe, is the chairman of that. And so thank you to Dennis for tackling a large topic. The other thing is Labor Day is Monday, September 1st. City Hall will be closed?
Correct.
Okay. Any other announcements? If not, we'll move on. We have no minutes to approve, so those will be on next month. The next item of business is project updates, update on park projects and status. And do you want to go first?
I just have a few details.
Okay.
Thank you for cutting the tree along the path next to the tennis court. It looks 10 times better. It's much more space. The other thing was the horseshoe game in George H. Park. You know, that horseshoe game that's on the peninsula there.
Mhm.
I don't think it's used very much. Every time I go, I don't see anybody play. Except for the fishermen who lift the box up to find worms underneath. So I was just wondering about the usefulness of that.
I know when it was originally put in, there was a nationally competitive horseshoe thrower who lived nearby, and they were always setting up their own, their own setup. And so I don't know the status of it since then, but that was originally why it was put up, because there was a lot of activity with that. But perhaps. I mean,
Well, are you
Mark-
considering removing it because it's not used?
I'm
or
just
what?
asking, has anybody else seen people play?
I don't go enough to make a
Mhm.
judgment about that. I don't know, Mark, do you have an idea of how much it's used?
I do not, but I do believe that it was just upgraded, improved like within the last year or so. So I
You'll
think
look-
there had to be some use, for that request to go through and, and for the upgrades and improvements to be made.
Well, you take it away, you'll find out if people are using it.
Well, what's the
Yeah,
point of,
it's
what's
true.
the point of taking it away?
Right.
Right,
I mean,
'cause you never know.
Yeah.
You can't use it if you take it away.
right, right.
Yeah. Looks a lot better now than it did a year and a half ago. Okay.
Yeah, it was set up a long time ago.
Mm.
Anything else? Okay. All right, Bill?
Well, parks are looking good. Everything's nice and green. Could use a little bit of rain, but, and tomorrow's our last concert here. And last week we had a tremendous crowd. We had 772 people. What- what- What's that? About 800. And let me count a few people here that just heard that. No, we had a really good crowd. People had a lot of fun. I saw comments on Facebook and everything else. So it was a good night. Hopefully tomorrow night we're outside here. Come and see the last concert.
Yep.
And like I said, everything's looking good outside.
Yes, great, excellent. Any questions? Christine, are you online?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Okay. Well, I have nothing to report other than to, agree with Bill that, yes, we've had a good concert season. Luckily to have the past two outside and looking forward to tomorrow night's concert, final concert. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Mhm.
Marty?
It's kind of a slow season for tree work. It's been so hot to get out there and do anything, but we have been treating crepe myrtle for scale. That's still an issue. And we've been doing some pruning, and that's about it.
Any questions for Marty? Thank you. Barry?
I'm happy to finally report that we have some action on the master plan for Great Marsh Park. Julia's been in touch with the DENRAC, and they would like to set up a public meeting, kind of a walkthrough meeting that's will present the conceptual plan to the public, so people could come in and just look at the plan, ask questions, those kinds of things. And that's on October 27th at 5 p.m. here in the Rollins Center. They also wanted us to add some information about parking. I think we did have a parking lot in there, but to address what the current and future needs might be that have that part of the plan too. They also want a little more detail on gathering spaces, and also suggested that we look at the marsh migration report, which may have an impact on what we do there. I also have been getting estimates on the stone wall, the big huge wall there, because it's starting to disintegrate, and I'm hoping that we can use that, or it can be put a part of the park in some way. And I've also requested some bush cutting, or whatever you want to call it, bush hogging, and I'm not sure where we are on that, but I asked Public Works to cut the grass where we cut trees down, both on the entrance to Samantha, and also around the access to the dog park. And there's a couple other places that need to be trimmed. That's all I have. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Barry. Rodney?
Just briefly, and Julia's could probably say more about this, but there's a bulkhead failure at the overfalls, and that's being looked at
tomorrow.
by the public.
Yeah, BPW is going to take a look at it tomorrow, because that's the first time it's low tide that they're working. So they're going to be down in that area tomorrow morning. They expect somewhere around 11:30 that they'll be able to get down there and check the drain. But before that, they'll be in the park early, just setting up.
And then secondly, the location where the concrete pad was removed next to the overfalls, that's been regraded. The catch basin has been basically restored, just cleaned out. And the drain line into the canal has been cleaned out, so it should be functioning. And the park plans to, I think the regrading is done, and they're going to go ahead and just plant it with sod.
Excellent.
And I think that's the best thing to do at this point. Keep it as an open turf area. That's all I have.
Excellent. Any questions? Thank you. Mark?
No report this month.
Thank you. As for beaches, I have signed up for the 38th Delaware Coastal Cleanup. That is on September 13th. And I think I've done all of them. Now that I look back and think about it, I think there's one, a gentleman in town and I are some of the original volunteers for that. That's always a great event. Also, Johnny Walker Beach Day is being organized for September 27th at 10 a.m. And there should be speakers and a lot of discussion about the future of Johnny Walker Beach and what it represents to people. And so that should be a meaningful day for attendees.
Say the day again, please.
That is September 27th at 10 a.m. Cynthia Anderson Clay, who is now the chairman of the Johnny Walker Beach Subcommittee, she is organizing that.
Thank you.
Certainly. I only had one item of interest, and this is something actually that I sent to Dennis's code enforcement group, was that a week ago Saturday, there was an ultralight that took off from Savannah Beach early in the morning and then came around and landed about 5 feet from me and packed up his stuff and took off. And so I spoke to the police and they said, actually, that's not illegal. So they said, if you could have a safety ordinance about that, we would appreciate it. Strom told me that I guess 2 years ago, this individual did this on Johnny Walker Beach and was told not to. So I am following up on that within the bounds of what we have. And the police said, if you see him again, call us right away. And now I know. So I will certainly do that.
I saw that and I said, I haven't seen an ultralight in the air for 20 years.
And you can be sure everyone within hearing distance was awake from it. It was loud. Nobody slept past 7:45 that Sunday. So that was, yeah. I don't know whether he was taking photos or what, but that was, I felt like I was in North by Northwest. It was close. All right. The other thing I was wondering, Strom, would you be able to give us an update on the beaches between the storm, which thankfully looks like it's going to not land on anywhere, but it's still going to affect us. And then could you preview guarding in September?
Sure.
That'd be great.
So we're going to monitor what the water and tides are doing later this week as the storm comes up the coast. So I know that some of the ocean beaches have restricted water access. Our issues, we don't face the same issues that they have. We will monitor the surf, the tides, and if it gets to a point where we feel that it's unsafe for our residents and our visitors of the city, then we will make the necessary calls so that, you know, we keep them safe. So, I mean, we're going to play it by ear and by hour. So,
Is it possible that you would recommend closing the water but leaving the beaches open?
yes, it depends how high the water comes up and we're worried about flooding or any of those issues, but yeah, we're just gonna have to see where we are. You know, we don't have the rip currents, we don't have the waves that the Atlantic has, so we'll see. I don't want to put anybody
Just
in
the
harm's way.
jellyfish.
Yeah, we have a lot of jellyfish. So yeah, we're just gonna keep an eye on it, and if it gets really bad, then we'll restrict water access, because you know, we need to keep the people safe, and I also need to keep my lifeguards safe.
Exactly, exactly. And then you'll be having weekend
We will.
hours in September, which is new.
Yes, so that'll start the weekend after Labor Day. We're going to guard the beaches from 10 to 5, Saturday and Sundays till the end of the month. We're excited about that and seeing what that looks like, because we have never done that before. So I think there's a definite need for it, because you know, then we have a lot of nice days in September, and the beach is still busy, the water's still busy, so it'd be great
Well,
to have somebody there to help our visitors if they need it.
that's a great service. So I think anyone who goes to the beach will appreciate that, especially with youngsters.
Yep.
To know that there's, you know, that you're there and providing great customer service. So thank you
My
for
guard-
doing that.
Absolutely. My guards are excited about it. They're really looking forward to it.
They're a great
So,
group.
Thank
So,
you. I
Thank you
agree.
for doing that.
Yep.
Excellent. Right. We have no items listed under old business, so we will begin with new business, which is discussion and possible action regarding the Delaware 250 Liberty Tree. Marty, would you like to lead this discussion?
Sure. As we all know, we're coming up to the 250th anniversary since the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and there's all kinds of celebratory things being done. The mayor has asked that we plant a Liberty tree, which will sort of be in the nature of the Liberty tree in Boston. That was a center point for patriots to rally around. It was an elm tree up there. It doesn't have to be an elm tree here, but we're looking for a good place to locate it, and someplace that's easy to get to and has space for a nice big tree, because eventually it'll be a nice big tree. So
So you're not only trying to determine a location, but a species of tree and then a source for the tree? Like how big do you anticipate, or does it depend on the kind of tree?
I think as far as when we plant it,
Mm-hmm.
I think Rodney is going to tap his expertise and his friend's expertise, and once we nail down the species, I think we're going to leave it to Rodney to find the optimal.
Yeah, I would recommend that we determine what species of tree we want to plant first, and then based on that, all trees are not the same, and some transplant very easily, some plant with some difficulty, and ones with difficulty, you may want to go to a smaller, younger tree. And so I think there would be some homework that we want to do quickly, because we want to get this moving along. But, and I personally, I would even call some contractors that I've known, been in the business for a long, long time. One of them sitting at the end of the table down here, and talk about what their experience is about planting, you know, about the size and so on. Some of them have tap roots and so on. But if we want to continue with the discussion, my thoughts on this are that it's going to be a very significant tree. It should be a tree where the location is just as important as the species of the tree. And the location ought to be a place where it has lots of space around it, where it's not in competition with other visual elements, where it can grow into a full size with a branch structure that you would expect from a tree growing out in an open space. And our intention is to have it grow there for a long, long time. I'm talking 100, 200 years, even longer. And so we ought to find a place where we can accommodate a tree like that. I think we have a place right here on this property where we could I mean, imagine if it was, for example, out here, and grew up 50 years from now, people could come and have another celebration under that tree. It would be it would be magnificent in 50 years. I think that's the way we ought to be thinking about it. And then just scratching my head over some species, it should clearly be an indigenous tree. And I think a white oak is what I would recommend we consider. But I think that's up to the commission to maybe do some homework and come up with some other ideas. But that's a kind of tree that I think of when you want a tree that's supposed to last for a long, long time. And white oaks do. That's what they're known for. So.
We're going to put this discussion in a time capsule. So 200 years from now, they can nail it down.
But whatever tree we decide to use, and maybe in making the decision, we would look for availability. You know, what's the provenance? What nursery has it available? What nursery has a reputation where we feel confident they're going to dig it properly, or it's been grown in a container properly. So there's some homework to be done.
So when you said, just to clarify, when you said, for instance, over here, you're talking about in back of the library next to the new pavilion. That's where you.
Yeah, I think you just quickly looking around, that's the kind of space I have in mind.
I could see us putting it smack dab in the middle of the field, and then any future development is all based around this tree, that how it's going to be, 10, 20, 40 years from now, going on down.
Yes, and if it comes to a motion, that part of that motion ought to be that no other trees be planted within 80 feet of it or something that we're comfortable with.
Probably, yeah.
I was waiting for the fences. You don't get to do this kind of thing very often, so. I know the community I grew up in, we had it was a William Penn land grant property, and there was a William Penn tree
Right.
that was in a circle bigger than this room around it.
I put fences around.
And so it was, the neighborhood was designed around that tree.
Right.
Yes.
So if, I would say, this sounds like a tree that you want to be seen as
Special.
showstopper.
Extra
Yeah.
special, yeah.
This is
There's,
meaningful.
I believe they're planning on putting signs up that explain what a Liberty Tree is and its importance during the Revolutionary War and so on. Is Christine on yet?
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
on.
she's
Yes, I'm here. Mhm.
Christine, do you have any comments on that?
Certainly, I'm open to suggestions for Stango Park. Absolutely. Yeah. The back of the library area that you're talking about is at this point in time completely open. And, we have the space to accommodate a tree like that. So I'm certainly open to that possibility. Yes.
So the plan that was approved several months ago for that area, and it's partly carried out now.
Right.
Calls for tree planting on the berm around the area, and then
Mm.
a few more trees down near the trail, a few more, but in that big area there calls for kind of a semicircle walking path
Walk path. Yes. Mhm.
with benches in
Correct.
corners, a few small trees. I think Sweet Bay Magnolia was on the list for that.
That's correct. Yes.
And spaces for art, but it includes a big open area that would have space to accommodate a nice big tree.
Yes. Yes.
I think
Absolutely.
it would fit in very well with that design for.
Mhm, mhm. I think so too at first glance, absolutely. It's not something that was in the plan, but certainly could be considered. And, the fact that eventually we will, it would be nice to have a walkway around the perimeter of that area. It could certainly be incorporated. Yes.
Could, I propose we have a working group, well, a small working group, probably, Rodney, Christine and me, to further research this or do we want a motion now to?
Well, this is my question. How much of a motion do you want?
Just do it.
Just assign us to do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Christine, are you
Yeah.
open to that, or are you being?
Oh,
open to
absolutely.
your-
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay,
And by the next meeting, we could have a stake in the ground for you. Right.
Yeah.
We'll get it done.
Progress,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we could definitely say the location, will be here and then, I mean, that could be part of the motion moving forward and then further details, like say next month.
Yeah.
Because I think the location's perfect for it. Next to the library, you have a historical thing, you tie in 1776, Liberty, Learning, and, and all that together. It's a perfect spot.
I'm gonna also add that based on digging there, the digging we've done so far to plant trees, the soil is actually pretty decent. I was actually a little surprised at how decent it was, so that's
Mhm.
also a plus in my mind. Okay, so I. make a
Okay,
motion?
so we're going to look for a motion. Let me just make sure I have this right. That Christine, Marty, and Rodney are going to be part of a working group doing research on location, species of tree, and I guess sort of a timeline for planting as well, because that has to factor into it too.
Well, the mayor was referring to maybe having a planting,
In the
like
spring.
next April, around about Arbor Day, which
Okay.
is the end of April.
Okay.
I mean, you can work all that out once you get the tree and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
need all that stuff
Yeah.
in the
Okay,
motion.
all right. But I just want to make sure I'm hearing everything correctly and that you have time to meet between now and our September meeting and you'll have a report at least for our September meeting.
Yes.
Okay, so do I have a
Yes.
motion do I have a motion that says that?
Okay, I move that we tentatively approve on having a planting location in Stangle Park Extended near the new pavilion. And that we have a working group of Rodney, Christine, and myself to research and settle on a recommended tree species. And hopefully a vendor.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any motion a second, any discussion? In that case, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you very much for doing that. I think that would be very beautiful and meaningful. And I think the city's going to have a full slate of events for the Delaware 250. Next item on the agenda is preview of September meeting agenda item, which will be a review of the bylaws and reorganization. I've included the bylaws so that everybody's got the latest copy. So for our next meeting, I will ask everyone to go over them. Bring with you any notes about what you think should be changed and how, so that we can have a discussion about what would improve them. And we will also reorganize. Meaning, unless I hear otherwise, I'm still the temporary chairman, but then we will need whether or not I'll go back to vice chairman once a new chairman is approved, and then we'll need a secretary. So please be thinking about those roles. If that's of interest, let me know. Any questions on this? I'm going to get back to doing this every September so that we stay on track. Any questions? All right, thank you. Next item on our agenda is a report on a citizen request to place a fence around the Canal Front Park Playground. And I just want to start by saying one thing, and that is that I think the city is extremely responsive to concerns about safety. It's important to the city, especially with an amenity as popular and beautiful and citizen supported as Canal Front Park, that when a safety item is brought to city staff, elected officials, volunteers like us, it's taken seriously. There is discussion and information is gathered on what the best path forward is. We don't have an A game and a B game. We only have an A game. We're very concerned about safety and providing great experiences for everyone. So I think that, the city's response to this should be very helpful as we discuss what the best way forward is. Julia, did you want to begin? I know you've been doing a lot of work on this.
Yes. So as you said, we did receive a citizen complaint a concern, I'm sorry, regarding a lack of fencing around the Canal Front Park playground. The concern is for children who could wander away from the playground and go towards the canal. So I reached out to Scott Lean, who's with Compan, who actually is online now. So if you have anything that you want to interject, Scott, please feel free. Scott was our representative with Compan. He assisted in the planning and the rendering of the area and is very familiar with the footprint. At this point, we are not able to put a fence in because the rubber safety surface has already been poured. The fence would have to be poured into the fence would have to be in place before the surface got poured. Yes, thank you. So in order for us to put up a fence, we would need to put a curb around the playground and set fence point and posts. This would eliminate the accessibility of the playground. He stated that 95% of playgrounds are unfenced, and there are specific requirements for fencing, but we do not meet any of those requirements. He stated that if we fence in the area, we are also limiting capacity and would have an occupancy rate. There would be one access point to the playground with a fence due to the Overfalls Pavilion and the drainage from the basketball courts along the water filling station. And we were made aware that the citizen might be coming to the meeting tonight. And also that, we did reach out to her to speak to her and let her know that we are looking for other options and trying to find a solution that's acceptable to all. So I ask you, as the Parks and Rec Commission, if you have any suggestions or any thoughts or any ideas of what we could do to increase the safety, and if Scott, if you have anything that you want to interject or add, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. I'm wondering if we could maybe not enclose the whole thing, but just put a fence, like one fence as closest to where the water is.
A fence line, you mean?
Yeah, I like,
that from the playground itself.
yeah, kind of do like a fence line or, even a little bit of a U or something like that around the perimeter, just a fence line.
Yeah, so are you finished?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
I'm thinking rather than
Right. I mean,
enclose the whole thing, I think, which is problematic in terms of construction.
Having been a mother of two toddlers, having seen, other events with kids at the park, the Rehoboth Theater Summer Camp, there are lots of little kids there. They come. I was at Aladdin. I don't know if you went. There was I've never heard that they thought they needed some sort of protection to keep their kids from going towards the canal. The thing that I find a little bit problematic is that this is a playground for small children. And I cannot imagine bringing my kid and not having my eyes on that kid the whole time. I see that there are other playgrounds with fences, and there are playgrounds that are for bigger kids, like the one at Block Pond Park has a fence around. The one around the school has a fence around. That new playground, a lot of kids go there. Personally, I do not think that the playground at this gorgeous playground needs a fence, because I think it is the responsibility of parents not to let their kids wander towards the canal. I mean, it seems unthinkable to me.
I'd take the cell phones away.
I'm looking at it now and there's a fair distance between the edge of the playground and the first bit of water. How far is that? It's wider than playground itself, actually, that distance. I don't know.
125 feet.
I walk my dog there almost every day. I have never seen even a kid in the lawn. I've not seen that. I'd really be interested to know what the motivation of this is, because every time I walk by, and I'd like, to hear other voices. Do you see kids wandering around? In the lawn
What?
or
Right.
on the boardwalk?
Well, I guess that this is a preventive measure. And the hard part is the Canal Front Park was developed in response to a proposed structure that would have blocked the canal from both view and access for quite some distance. So instead, citizens of the city made the Canal Front Park happen, and both in design and many other ways. So it's access to the canal that is the purpose of the park. On the other hand, you don't want an accident to happen, certainly. I occasionally see kids who should have supervision who don't, not there, other places. So I can't speak to it at the playground, but it certainly is a recognition of a possibility that we don't want to happen. So I guess the question is, what would be a solution in the middle that would not, affect the playground in a negative way, but satisfy this concern? Rodney?
Before you look for a solution in the middle, I would pose the question, what's the difference between children using the playground and children using the rest of the park? If they're small, they're supervised, which is your point. And so therefore, if there is really no difference, why would we need a fence?
Very good point, Rodney.
Okay. All right.
Also, I'd like to mention that here, the Article 2 of our bylaws that I know we're going to review, it says the commission will have a general responsibility. Okay, general. We don't need to have a specific detailed responsibility of every person who goes into that park. Sorry, Mark, you wanted to talk.
Well, my thoughts were that, personal responsibility is important. And if you take a look at the canal and how the canal goes through the town, has this been an issue where you have had accidents or anything like that? And I don't recall any. I mean, I haven't been here as long as, as some of you, but, sometimes I think that, we could be looking for a solution where there isn't a problem. And, I understand people may bring concerns up, but, I think it's us, up to us to kind of temper that and take a look. And, I think a reasonable response here is, I don't see it as a problem.
I know when the new schools came before Planning Commission and there were retention ponds, as then a member of Planning Commission, I asked, should stormwater retention ponds at a school be fenced? And they said, no, it's counterintuitive. If you fence it, kids will come. If you don't, they won't. And I thought that's very counterintuitive, but you are the school experts. You design these all the time. And if you recommend that there not be a fence, okay. So I think that this is a complicated subject and one that experts can certainly chime in on and tell us how these things work.
Well, and I think too, sometimes comparing like a city park and a playground on a school property, fencing serves a different purpose there. Fencing around playgrounds in schools, that's for security. That's not so much to keep kids in, but it's to keep other people from getting to where the kids are.
Plus, one person supervising a lot of
Mhm.
different children.
Right.
And I'd like to say that the benches that have been put there since the park was first there, they're, you know, they're put in a way that they're already containing a little bit. I think, and again, I'd like to stress that this is a playground for very small kids. So it goes without saying that they're supervised. Okay, so. Scott, did you have anything you wanted to add to this before we open this to the public?
Not so much rules or regulations, just if you had wanted to consider fencing, I kind of wanted to speak to how the fence posts would affect poured in place rubber if you were going to install them, and like where you would probably, you know, if you wanted the fence to be really close to the playground, you'd almost need a curb. But fence footers are still big enough to where they could disrupt the rubber at the perimeters of the asphalt path. I've been selling playgrounds 8.5 years. I've only ever been requested to provide fencing on 2 projects. One was early childcare, and they needed it for licensing to separate the age groups. And the other one was a custom fence that we ended up not doing. It was for a fence contractor, but it was to separate the playground from a lacrosse field during games. So the fence was 10 feet, but then during game days, they had this pulley system that could make the safety net go higher to alleviate any balls overflowing into the playground. The only thing that you guys may want to consider, and as you examine this situation a little bit deeper, is not so much the security risk of someone drifting into water, but the one thing that you're not mentioning that we tend to hear about a lot more, if a fence gets brought up, is for kids on the spectrum for elopement issues. You know, sometimes kids with neurodivergent or sensory issues, sensory overload, they may choose to wander off. And I'm not saying that's the case here, because it doesn't sound like that was the argument. It sounded like this was just a safety concern by water. But, you know, when you look back at the Google Earth imagery back to 2009, when that playground was built, there's never been a fence. And during the 18 months of working with Janet and Juliet, the conversation never came up. So my assumption was you guys were sort of going with the grandfather thought process that we don't have a fence because no one's ever needed a fence. But yeah, I don't know that you need a fence by code.
Well, thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Just because we're trying to be safe, but obviously we need to think of all the factors.
Yeah.
Is there anyone from the public who'd like to attend? If you would come up to the microphone and give your name and address for the minutes, that would be great. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Siobhan Park. And my address, you said?
Yes, please, for the minutes.
506, right down the road, Kings Highway in Lewis. Is that okay if I speak now?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come here and speak tonight. Like I said, my name is Siobhan Park. I'm a resident of Lewis and a parent of 2 young children. I didn't know we were going to go into such good discussion already about the fence, and I appreciate that. But I'm here to respectfully urge the council to consider installing a fence around the playground located close to the canal. I have spoken with some city officials about this topic last week. I'm thrilled to hear that there's already been research done into this. And I'm coming tonight to implore that we find a way to get this done. I understand that the previous playground did not have a fence. However, I was hoping that the recent renovations, including all of the safety measures, should have included a fence. As a pediatric critical care physician assistant at Nemours Children's Hospital for the past 13 years, I have seen my fair share of tragedies. The playground is 45 steps away from the water's edge. In other words, a 15-second toddler sprint, which I did have my 3-year-old run. As any parent knows, children can slip away in an instant. Drowning is the leading cause of injury-related deaths for children ages 1 to 4. the young age group that is exactly attending this playground. It happens quickly and it happens silently, and it can happen in 30 seconds. Nearly 70% of drownings involving children happen during non-swim time. So time when a parent does not expect the child to be close to the water. A comment I heard from the city was that the fence would decrease inclusivity for those with varying physical abilities. I think that there are latch door fences that would be handicap accessible. And in contrast, I believe a fence around the playground would increase inclusivity, as I think Scott had mentioned. It does allow parents who have neurodivergent children a safe place to come. Studies show that children with autism are 160 times more likely to drown. Drowning is the leading cause of death for children and adults with autism who tend to wander. A fence doesn't create a physical barrier, it's going to create access. Our tennis courts are fenced in, the basketball courts are fenced in, the dog park is fenced in. We've made thoughtful decisions to protect our adults, our teens, and our pets, so why wouldn't we do the same for the most vulnerable and precious among us, which is our children? Lewis is a town known for its charm, history, and family friendliness. Visitors and residents alike come here with the expectation of a safe, welcoming space. Installing a fence would be a small investment with an enormous return, protecting lives, preventing trauma, and giving families peace of mind. We don't need to wait for a tragedy to take action. We can make a difference today with one simple, smart, preventative step. A fence would not replace parental supervision, of course, but rather act as an adjunct safety measure. The comment about not taking your eyes off children at the playground, that's wonderful. You sound like you are a wonderful mother. However, I'm
You
aware
have to
that
ask my sons.
mistakes happen. A perfect parent can make a mistake. I've seen that personally, and I've seen it during my medical career. Also, the fact that it has never happened to one person is called survivor bias. I don't think that that's something that just because it didn't happen to us means that we shouldn't consider it couldn't happen to someone else in the future. So to show how this does matter to our community and many of my friends and fellow parents, I did start a petition to request a fence, and we've gathered over 200 signatures, with the majority coming from families here in the Lewis area. These are parents, grandparents, and neighbors who all share the same concern. They want the playground to be a safe space for children to play. It's not just my voice tonight, it's the collective voice of our community calling for action. And thank you all for your time and your service and your consideration.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Does anyone
you.
have any questions specifically, Ms. Park? Oh,
Will her comments be made available, written
in the minutes?
in the minutes to
It
us?
should be. Did you want to submit written
Could you
comments?
submit that?
Submit this, sure.
Sure. And then I can just give that directly to our recording secretary that way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that's helpful.
If I just was picturing the playground, the museum, the parking. Personally, I'd be more afraid of my kid wandering towards where cars are.
That's a good point too.
So
I've had my toddler run both directions, and some parents I know have kids that will one that way, one that way.
are there not enough other playgrounds that are fenced that you're comfortable with?
Almost every other school park that we do go to is fenced in, which is why, again, my comment is, I know nothing bad has happened. Nothing has happened in the canal in town. But man, all it takes is one tragedy for every single one of us to wish that we did do something. And yet there's plenty of wonderful playgrounds. We're so fortunate.
As an alternative,
As an
especially if you have a child that has autism. I mean, all the more reason not to take any risk at all.
Agreed, but I don't know if everyone has that line of thinking, if everyone's gonna have the forethought to know it's right next to a canal. And that's not, it may not be a choice that I would have made, but I just think that added layer of safety.
I just can't help thinking that we're protecting adults in a way. We're sort, what kind of society do we want to be? Because we want to tell parents what they have to do. I mean, it just seems what was the word you used, Mark, before, or somebody? Counterintuitive.
To put a fence near a canal around the playground.
That is my feeling. That now you may disagree, but I do think as a former mother, soon to be grandmother, I am a little bit astonished. Because it is such a beautiful open, and look at the theater, look at the place they have for the kids. The kids are there. They're on the lawn,
Yeah,
they're
you're
even
just referring to the
closer, they're even closer to the water.
Mhm.
Well, I think this conflict comes from the purpose of the park was to allow the public to have access and the view of the canal, because
Mhm.
that was the threat that it would all be removed with a huge building, huge, long building,
Mhm.
and that would be lost. So the thought has always been that that complex of amenities is all open.
Mhm.
So that's why
Except for the tennis court and the baseball field. and
they
the basketball
predate,
court.
they predate.
Okay.
And so, the actual amenities such as, well, even having the overfalls there and so on, those things came with the park.
Mhm.
Because that section was a boatyard.
Mhm.
And so, that conversion from a working boatyard, an old working boatyard, was extreme.
Mhm.
So that was the vision at the time and the purpose of it.
Mhm.
So that's why it seems like a conflict then, that it's like, oh, now we want to, now we need to think about it in a different way. So that's.
I see. I
that-
appreciate the background.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
that's the reconciling of why these other things, the dog park is fenced in for insurance purposes.
Mhm.
The tennis courts and the basketball courts and Little League predate everything.
Uh-huh.
So that's different. And so then the purpose now is being presented as a conflict. And so
Mhm.
that's what we're trying to reconcile. How do we make all of this work?
Right.
Because clearly we want things to be safe,
Mhm.
but the park has a complex past.
Mhm.
And so we're trying to take that into account as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
So that's why they're different. They're not contemporary. That's
Yes.
what's
Yeah.
different about
No,
them.
I appreciate the background. I do think that potentially there's a compromisable fence that we could find that's beautiful and open still. I'm not picturing like a wall around the playground whatsoever. Like I said, just one more physical barrier, a reminder to the moms and dads who go there with all of those very young children.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I think somebody had a comment.
Yes, sir. Would you like to come up to the microphone and give your name and
Yeah.
address, please?
Thierry Boré, Harborview Road. I have a comment to make on this, but I also wanted to comment on the Liberty Tree questions. I think
Okay.
I have something to contribute. Do you
Okay.
want me to wait for that?
Why don't you wait for the Liberty Tree while and let's finish this
We
discussion and
finish
then a
this and I'll
comment.
be able to
Okay.
come back.
Mhm.
The only comment I would do on this is the aesthetics are very important. Very often fencing is very ugly and unsightly. So whatever your commission decides, make sure that if you decide to build anything, that it is aesthetically pleasant and doesn't distract, like Anne said, from the beauty of the area. This is very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I think we need to think about this, get some more discussion about this. Rodney, is that true? Because you have most discussion with friends to see what their thoughts are about it.
Yes, I did. We had a Friends of Canal Front Park board meeting this morning, and the general consensus was that the adults have some responsibility to manage children in the playground, and they would rather us put a sign up that says children must be supervised as opposed to putting a fence up. That was their general consensus.
Okay. All right. I think we need to think about this issue and we can put it on the agenda for next month, Julia?
If that's
Would
what
that
you would
be-
like.
I think so. But this is, I mean, the agenda item is a report and rather than consideration and a vote. So I think we should think about this. And, if we can get a copy of Ms. Park's letter, then we can look at that and think about what everybody is saying from every direction.
Okay,
Yeah.
so next month, an action item.
Yes, please.
Got it.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is discussion and possible action regarding budgeting for fiscal year 2027. Review of Parks and Recreation Strategic Plan as accepted by the Mayor and City Council and make recommendations on priorities based on the entire parks project list. So included for everyone is the budget in two sections. One are routine expenses and one are capital expenses. Julia, did you have any comments for this for right now?
I'm just in preparing for the budget, which is going to be quickly approaching. We need to start looking at and identifying items within the system that need to be repaired, project lists that we are looking for. I need to get everyone into that mode. So I ask that you go through this list holistically, not individual parks. We need to move more towards a park system and operating in such a way that we have more collaboration between individuals within different parks, working more together and looking at it as a whole. So I'm asking that you please review the list. I sent it out early enough, or it was attached to the minutes early enough, so everyone should have had an opportunity. And again, this is a living, breathing document. It does need to be submitted to mayor and council as the strategic plan prior to January. So this will need to go on the December mayor and council agenda for their monthly meeting. So that's why we need to start getting moving on it now. I expect that October is when I will be presenting to the finance committee our budget propositions. It may, that's what I'm assuming, 'cause that's what it was last year. It was October of last year, so.
So you need to have, by the end of our September meeting, you need to have this finished.
Yes, I would like to have an idea of budgeting and where you want to move forward. And then we can still continue more discussion for the strategic plan for the future months, but that will need to be decided by our November meeting so it can be presented at the December mayor and council meeting.
Because what we have, the capital and routine expenditures aren't money, they're ideas. And so will we do money next separately, or will we not be doing that? Is that?
Well, as far as money, we're gonna have to get quotes and I'm gonna have to seek out to find out how much things will cost.
Yes.
So that is my next step. When we identify a project that we need to have completed, I will then reach out and get quotes, so at least we have an idea of how much it would cost us
Because you need that in October.
to be able to present for the
Oh.
budget.
Okay, so do you think we need to have a special meeting just to talk about this? Because I don't know if we can get this together in a meeting where, because for our regular September meeting, we talk about bylaws, we'll be talking about the fence, and then we'll be talking about this that I know of. And so I just want to be realistic so that you aren't crunched any more than the budgeting process already causes. What do you think is reasonable?
I don't believe that we need a special meeting. I know that Marty had said prior to this meeting that if everyone goes through the list and updates her, she can then go through and we can keep this breathing document going.
Okay. Okay. So Marty, will you tell everybody your,
Yeah. So here's,
Very
yeah,
brave
I
volunteer
did I
moment.
did the drafting on this before, as you remember, I would come back with new drafts every time. But what I ask is that no less than a week from now, if you give me any updates you have on this list, I know some of these items have been completed. Some of them are in progress in various ways. And then you may know of more projects that we should add to this list, and I would like to know all of that, and I will produce a red line document with all the changes. So when we meet again, hopefully, all the changes we can think of are redlined into this, and it'll make our review quicker, I hope.
that would be great. If you could
So-
do that, that would be very
I-
much appreciated.
If I close the business on next Monday, that would be helpful.
On the 25th, Monday, the 25th.
Right.
Okay, so we're all going to go through this and get our comments to Marty by close of business Monday, the 25th. And then will you be able to get that done ahead of the meeting, Marty?
I intend to get it done well ahead of the meeting so that it could go out.
Because then we
It's
could
the part of the
circulate.
agenda.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, if you can get it to Julia and then if
Mhm.
she could, then she can circulate or I can circulate it so that we have it, so that we can come to this meeting as prepared as possible
Yes,
and move through this, because I
yes.
don't want to get bogged down and then miss your deadline. That's
Oh,
my
I appreciate that,
concern.
yes. Thank you.
Because I know, I mean, this is a lot of work and a lot of what we do rides on the success of this accurately reflecting what we need and what mayor and council also need to plug it into all the rest of the data. So if you're okay with that,
Yeah,
that would be
absolutely.
great. All right, anybody have any questions about this?
Yeah, I do. Are you asking us to look at this now and see whether it's a complete list of what we think ought to be considered? Or are you asking us to prioritize it? I think if we're,
Both.
okay. So then we sit here as a group and decide what gets the highest priority? Is that your
Yeah,
intention?
that's what we had done in our previous months before we presented this to mayor and council.
Yeah,
We had gone through, or you had gone through and prioritized the items.
okay. Well, I mean, we're supposed to be thinking in terms of all the parks, not the ones we're assigned to.
Correct.
I don't think we actually prioritized last year. We set down what our vision was on things we had to do, but I don't think we actually.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm not,
we
I don't
did.
not recall what that
I
was.
thought we
And I
established.
mean, I would think,
Routine and capital.
Yes, by dividing it into routine and capital, I think it gave us a greater understanding of what these projects are and what kind of budget we need for them.
Yeah, and I think the priority is if you look at the list as far as the years are concerned.
Yeah.
Something that was needed like immediately got priority like 26, but something that could be pushed back later, it was prioritized by being bumped back later on in the spreadsheet, like 28, 29.
Right.
Yeah.
but my concern about that approach is that some parks might need a lot of repair where others don't. And you're not able to look at all the parks as a whole because the parks aren't all the same. So in my view, it's just my view, if as a commission, we say, you know, what ought to be priority one is accessibility and safety and maybe security. If those are the three things that we can agree on, so it's not, I'd love to have irrigation fixed, but that's not the priority that as a park system, we ought to be thinking about. We ought to be thinking about, we have problems in virtually all parks, I think, with accessibility.
Yes.
That's a high priority item in my view. And so as we review this list, if it addresses accessibility, we ought to all say that's a high priority, no matter what park it's in.
And that's exactly
Yes.
the way that we are looking to move forward, is noting the priority projects throughout the entire system.
So before you ask us to review this again, can we agree that it's that the priorities ought to be accessibility, safety, and security, or are there other considerations that we ought to give the highest priority to? I would ask that of the group, and if we could decide that now, that gives us a huge leg up to come together in September and really make some choices here.
So you're saying accessibility?
Accessibility, safety, and security is what just to my mind, but you're all
Well,
And well,
can tell me what you think.
that also leads into the ORPT grant that I did the pre-grant application for, which was pervious pavers for Canal Front Park to make it more accessible.
Mhm.
So if we end up getting a grant for that, that will also go with the accessibility.
But if there's a repair that has to be in one of the parks, that because the bricks are popping, that's an accessibility issue. It's not just a repair issue.
That's a safety.
And that would,
issue.
and a safety issue. Thank you. And so that's the kind of thing we ought to be saying, this should be a high priority for the city.
Well, and this is where, the idea of the park system can be tricky because I go to all the parks every month. It takes me all month to get there, but I get around to them. And say, for example, Zwanendale Park, I always think, I love that fountain. I love the sound of it. I love the look of it. I have no idea as just an observer that it's got structural issues. It's going to have to be rethought and redone. I don't know that. So this is where the rest of the budget opens my eyes from the casual observer to the expert in the park, tells me, well, actually, it is those things, but it also needs work. And I don't know that. So this is where going over this completely certainly helps me be more informed. Not to mention, I'm not a plant expert. So.
But if
all
that
of
fountain is not addressing accessibility, safety, and security, then it should not be top priority.
But should it be a priority because it's failing?
Not if it doesn't address what we decide is the top priority. We have to make those kinds of choices. I mean, I'm with you on the fountain. I don't want to get rid of it. I
No,
think
I'm
it could
just
be
being-
easily corrected.
I'm just
We have,
being-
somebody has to raise the money to do it.
Right. I'm just being.
But in
devil's
terms of what
advocate.
you're asking us as a commission to do, we need to give the city a direction.
Right. No, I'm just being devil's advocate because I'm
okay.
trying to wrap my head around a couple of aspects of this. And I don't have any problem admitting the limit of my knowledge when looking at other areas. So that's why dividing it into capital and routine is helpful. But I think if doing the budget this way also allows for, say, a sudden emergency to be financed.
Mhm.
Because this does, right?
Yes.
If we have an emergency
And if I know that there's an issue at one of the parks that needs to be addressed immediately, I can, or within the next budget system or cycle, because I'm also budgeting for 1, 3, and 5 years out. So it's not only this body, it is what I'm doing as well. So I know what other things I need to put in my budget because I know it needs to be addressed, whether the fountain is that item, if we're gonna use that as an example for tonight. I know that the fountain needs to be addressed and but it's a lot more than just a simple fix. And like you said, Kay, you might not know that
right.
because you're not in the park all the time, but that's where I come in. If you have questions, myself, Strom, Janet, we are the ones that are getting all the feedback about all of the parks.
Right. Well, here's another example. A driver took out one of the light standards at Savannah Beach this winter.
Yes.
And so I don't know how dark that area is going to be this winter. I don't know. So I don't know whether that needs to be replaced or not. And it's a wait and see. I don't know.
Yeah, I have a question along those lines. So for one of these, was Wanendale Park, there's been an ongoing request for years to put lighting, another light pole near the herb garden.
That was
And
already done.
Is it been, oh,
Mhm.
has it been
Mhm.
installed? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, those are the kind of updates that would
But,
help.
but it goes back to, I mean, to run a park system, you've got to have a fund that you can take care of things when a light gets blown out, you know, or knocked out. That you keep you keep money available because you don't plan for those things. You just plan to address it when those things happen. That's a separate thing. What we're asking the city to do here is to figure out across the park system,
Mhm.
what is the most important thing to us? Or the three things that are the most important, because they're asking us to recommend and prioritize this. And
Yeah.
so if it doesn't pass that first test,
Well,
Then
at
it's
least
a
one of my
lower priority.
questions-
it's to the lower, it's not that it's not important, it's a lower
Right.
priority.
Right.
So on the capital list, number 7 is for Canal Front Park. Lighting, retain the services of lighting designer to study existing lighting,
Right.
prepare a plan, et cetera, et cetera. That's now listed as lighting as a safety issue. Is that really, is it really unsafe right now?
Good question. That's what I'm getting at. I would think the accessibility is a more important, I would argue it's a more important
So,
issue right now for the city to focus on because the lighting seems, it's not as good as we would like. There's money that has to be spent on repair and replacement. But in terms of an investment and telling the city what they ought to be focused on, my argument would be that accessibility is something so we can get people to safely enter and move around the park.
well, that's why I think that, yeah, accessibility, safety and security are always going to be important issues at the top of the list, but not every lighting issue is a do it now thing. Some of them aren't, some of them aren't, and this one here for Canal Front Park maybe is not a do it now. I mean, that's something we want to do, but accessibility is, so we still have to go through and prioritize. We can't do it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
And that one is 28, 29.
yeah. So
So it's out there.
it's out there, but it's not 26 or 27.
Well, we're already
No.
in 26. So remember, we're in 26 right
27.
now.
We're in
Right,
26 right
We're
now.
going in,
27,
yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
be preparing the fiscal year
So-
27 budget.
Right. So, but if it's not on here and say, I don't know, something takes out all the lights at one of the parking lots, and there's going to be purchasing of large numbers of items, there's no point in not throwing in all the rest. It's like,
Mhm.
if we're not gonna get a better price or that person's expertise or whatever. So if it's out here, even if it's 28 and 29,
Right.
then we
Yeah.
know it's like, hey, there's another one that we need it for too. So,
So we're just gonna have to look at each one and
Mhm.
prioritize it. Even things
Mhm.
like the walkway around the pond, a blockhouse pond at George H.B. Smith Park.
I
That's,
think-
that's a safety issue, but that's out, years out, because first we have to fix the pond, and that's a long process to.
Right,
all the
and
engineering and everything done for that, funding and everything else. That's a long process.
the path is, I mean, it's pretty safe. It gets very wet, it's true,
Well,
but it's pretty safe. It's accessible to everybody.
it's
No,
it's
the
all
thing, the
relative.
thing that seems to me is that new trench drain at Canal Front Park.
That was already done.
Is it already
That's
done?
done.
Okay, so why?
So-
So it says
Why
on
don't
there,
we
soon
know?
to be
Why don't we know
completed.
what's already been done?
Yeah,
Because
that's
you have
that's
updated
why I said.
That's
send
part
me
of the
your
project
and I'll
updates that are
headline it.
supposed to be reported, which are reported.
Yeah.
Rodney reported that it was done many, many months ago. So those are the project updates that when it's completed, that gets reported on by the commissioners.
So we haven't been updating this every month when things get finished, so that's why I want everybody to send in their updates so that next month. Some things will come off altogether, so.
Right.
But the consensus seems that the most important thing is the accessibility
Yes,
of Canal Front Park. Do we agree on
All
that?
parks. That's what Rodney was saying, all parks, not just the
Yeah,
accessibility
but
for the
what
one.
what other park has a problem
You have
accessing?
Zwannendale that has their bricks that are popping. You have 1812, you have Mary Vessels. We have all the different parks that have different accessibility issues and things that need to be addressed.
I will tell you, any place that has a 5-inch curb is not nice. for when you have an issue. So I think Rodney's very concise. We're going to go through these two documents, starting with accessibility, safety, and security as the priority. And priority is shown as near term, far term. And we're going to be able to whittle it down by all the things that have been done, and there are a lot of things that have been done. And we're going to get this to Marty by close of business Monday, the 25th. And then we will get it as soon as Julia has had a moment to review and approve for hopefully ahead of the coming meeting, so people have plenty of time to look at it and make sure that everything is in good shape for discussion, because we need to get on the other side of this by our September meeting.
Plus, remember to send me if there's any new items that aren't on the list yet. We need to put them on the list and talk about it.
Well, thinking of a new item, if this fence is going to be installed, then you have to plan ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we'll see where the discussion goes. Any other questions or comment? Ms. Janet, did you have anything?
Oh, no.
Please.
Please state your name and
Yes,
address.
please, Janet, please state your name and address for the minutes.
City Hall.
No. I'm gonna go as a resident citizen here, not Janet Reeves, 207 Ocean View Boulevard. I greatly appreciate the discussion that I heard tonight. And I think that there's many factors that come into prioritizing projects. I agree with Rodney that safety and accessibility is a high priority. I don't know if the commission is aware, but there is going to be a pilot project on lighting, and this came out of the environmental subcommittee of the LPC. And it is called Night Sky Friendly. So it's down lighting rather than up lighting. So when we're talking about parking lots and whatnot, I think that's something that we need to consider. And we just had a conversation with the Deputy Chief of Police today about lighting down at Savannah Beach at night. But I just wanted to make everybody aware of what other things are going on as you prioritize. The other thing is our parks themselves are assets, and we have amenities in all of the parks. And so I think that the commission is getting there with this document that was created last year, but looking at the assets in all of the parks and deciding how to develop and operate and maintain those assets. So think about the things that we have in the parks. We have gazebos and pavilions. We have playgrounds. We do have fences. We have fountains. We have bike racks. We have gardens. We have the dog park. I mean, all of those things eventually have to be considered when we do an asset management plan with all of our parks. So I throw that out there as another thing to think about, but I think there are enough significant safety and accessibility projects that can be focused on as well. So food for thought. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so are we clear on what comes next? All right, thank you, everyone. And let's see, we're up to F, public comment. Sir, did you have another comment on the Liberty Tree?
Thierry Poirier, 19 Harborview Road, sorry. And I have a comment on the placement of the Liberty Tree. And I'm also going to address Janet in her capacity as a city official here, not just as a citizen. And I am also speaking as a member of the Planning Commission here. As you may know, about 6 weeks ago, we approved a minor subdivision for the so-called Kennedy property, which is a vast tract of land which is located along the canal, somewhere between the bike trail and the area where the canal turns around, where Great Neck,
Gill's Neck. And can I just say one thing? I must recuse myself from all discussion of that parcel.
Okay, fine.
So-
That's fine.
So
That's fine.
please go on.
But
Please go
I'm
on.
going to go on, and I'm talking to Rodney also here because I know that he's very involved into this. But I'm talking to all of you. The fate of this property, as it is currently contemplating, and after the decision by the Planning Commission to approve the subdivision, and the subsequent decision by the City Council about 10 days ago, I would say, to ratify the recommendation by the Planning Commission, the fate is that the property is going to be subdivided into 3 lots. 2 of those lots facing the canal will be developed and will receive a house which will be built and occupied by the current owners of this property, which is in a trust. What we could call the residual lot, which is the back lot, which is give or take an acre. I don't have the exact measurements in mind anymore, but that residual lot normally is destined to be gifted to the city. And so I assume that already, now that the administrative process of subdividing the property has been completed with the City Council decision, I assume that the city is already in discussion with the trust or with the owners of the property for receiving the gift of that vast tract of land, which is going to be on the back of the Kennedy property. Now, to precise a little bit where it is located also, on one side, you would have the Route 9, and on the other side, you would have the pedestrian and bike trail, the one that goes towards the library and all that. Okay, so that lot will be accessible through a drive, which will be located between the 2 lots that are fronting the canal. But it will also have access, although it's not currently contemplated that there be a pedestrian access, but there will be also direct connection to the bike and pedestrian trail. And as I was listening to you earlier discussing the location of the Liberty Tree, several things went through my mind. One of them, I've always wondered, as we were discussing at the Planning Commission, who was going to be asked to steward that piece of land, whether it was going to be Parks and Recs, or whether it might be the what is called Resiliency Committee, I believe, which, and here Ronnie can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it has been envisaged that the Resiliency Committee might be the authority that would supervise the commission, that would supervise the 4th Street Preserve. So it is conceivable that, and that's why I'm also reaching out to Jeanette here. I don't know if you guys have already started thinking whether that tract of land was going to fall under this commission or whether it was going to possibly go in the Resiliency Committee. But anyway, I think one of the issues is what is the city going to do with that vast property? And as you were talking about the Liberty Tree, I was thinking, okay, good. This property is going to be very expensive because right now it's basically just grassland. It comes as a gift, but at the same time, it's like an unwanted child. You're happy, but at the same time, what are you going to do about it? And there might be an opportunity, and this is something that I would like you, but maybe also the city to think about, is since the timing may work, and I'm not sure about that. That's why, again, I was talking about to Janet, because she's more familiar with me of the timing of the discussion for the city to receive the property. But there might be an opportunity to make this the location for the Liberty Tree, giving a purpose to that piece of land, and creating around this an event where the state could be associated, where we would have basically a Liberty Tree in the first city, in the first state. And that involvement of the state might make that tract of land, if it is ultimately gifted to the city, eligible for some state subsidy, where the state would actually sponsor financially some of the organizing of that space. Now, there are some constraints that you need to be aware of. There can be no man-made construction on the property, so there cannot be any sheds, any gazebos, any things of that nature. The owners of the property don't want to be, disturbed by these type of things. But a Liberty Tree, and I believe it also benches, would be allowed. So anyway, there is a vast subject here. You're in the process, or you have formed a committee, which is, looking at it in a very narrow way, because you have not been informed of the possible potential of expanding the horizon of the tree project, of the Liberty Tree project, and trying to make it something more complex on one hand, but at the same time, something where you could kill two birds with one stone and start, appropriating, at least intellectually and also in terms of planning, the future of that parcel. And so that when ultimately it is gifted to the city, it doesn't, so what do we do with it? How do we finance what we're going to be building here? And so that's what I wanted to bring to your attention. And I realized that it's not easy, and time is of the essence, because you're looking at April for the planting of your tree. The discussions about the gifting of the property, if they started, just a few days ago, probably, and I'm not even sure that they have. I don't have any information on this. But there is an opportunity, and we must seize it, because money is tight, and the city taking care of that property is going to be an expensive proposition. Ultimately, we don't have a press to print money here at the City Hall, so keep this into mind, and maybe through Julia, you can reach out to the city manager and start organizing things and see how you can bring all this together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I had been aware of the property. I've been kind of following it as we go along, and it's not, I don't know, has been for sure.
No, so let's just leave the comment.
Yeah, last I heard it, not been for sure accepted by the city. There's other.
Lou, do we have anybody online?
Yeah, okay.
Well, we have people online. Does anybody have a hand up that wants to speak?
Who's running the meeting?
I'm
technically Marty.
if we're acting chair.
Yes, we're no longer talking about it.
We're done with that topic, so thank you. Taking from that. Sorry.
Tim has his hand up. Go ahead, Tim.
Is this topic still open for discussion or has it been closed? I don't want to speak if it's been closed.
Okay, said it's still open, so she's going,
Okay, just sit here.
Right. All I would want to make clear is much what Terry Poirier just spoke of. It was a week ago this evening in council meeting that we did approve this minor subdivision. And I would agree with most of what how Terry framed the gift that the city anticipates to receive. That is that it would be a little over an acre in size, I believe, and that it is available for the understanding is that it will be considered open space. The determination or assignment of it as a park has not been made, but it would be considered open space at this point in time.
Tim, is that part of their requirement to provide open space in a development?
It's not related to the subdivision as open space. Would be public open space. It would not be common property just for the 2 lots that
No,
will.
I understand that, but
Right.
developers and builders are required to provide so much open space.
That's correct.
To get a
But
subdivision or whatever is
this is not that kind of open
Okay.
space.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not community open space as in the subdivision open space. This is open space for this residents of the city. Okay,
They're meeting their requirements as I think it's a minor subdivision for open space in different ways. And I don't
that's correct.
actually they even have open space requirements, but yeah, they have other ways of meeting it. This is
Correct.
part of their-
This is
Part of the criteria for gifting the land to the city is that certain things won't be done with it.
that's correct.
Low key, basically low key is what it amounts to, no buildings and things.
That's would be a fair description, right?
I
Yeah,
haven't
all
actually
those details have not been worked out, but that's the general understanding. That's correct.
I
All
haven't
right.
actually seen the agreement, so I don't know what the details are, but I keep hearing no buildings, no construction, no, yeah.
thanks, Tim.
Right. Yep. Okay.
Anybody else have anything online, Blue?
Any more?
Any more public comment in the room? Okay.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Oh, maybe you have something, okay. Okay.
And that is because tonight is Bill Edelman's last.
Okay, microphone.
Tonight is Bill Edelman's last meeting as Parks Commissioner.
Oh,
Want to thank him for his years of dedicated, brilliant service to the city, and helping make it the beautiful place that it is and that we all enjoy. Every place we look, it's beautiful.
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on the commission.
Bill, you're still gonna be responsible for doing the
I need to
count.
turn my video on so my wife can hear the applause.
You're still gonna be responsible for the counts of the concert, just to let you know.
And Bill, even though you're not gonna be sitting up here, I promise you as your neighbor, I'm still gonna ask you a lot of
There's no
questions
problem.
because
Also.
you know a lot of stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Motion and a second,
Okay.
second? Motion and a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? That's it for tonight, everyone. Thank you very much.